If we're literally going to be 1 billion times smarter,
you realize that there is no competition.
The GNR revolution, which is genetics, nanotechnology, and robotics.
Don't spend time arguing about what a good man is. Just be it.
That if conscious leaders don't take the forefront, we could see a little bit of the dark ages, I believe. We will look at this world and see a renaissance of creation.
The top 5 things that a business owner could deploy to really benefit from the use of AI.
Elon was saying, I think we 10x'd in the 6 months. Yeah, you know what? I think they're doing some woke stuff.
The collective of bringing intelligence together to say there's a much greater possibility in life.
You were asking for a picture of the founding forefathers. You couldn't even get a white founding forefather. How do they know that I'm not an AI?
How do we know that we're both not AI?
Each financial decision is not in a silo by itself. It has to be looked at and how it relates to something else in your plan. And most people are not looking at the big picture.
I'm sitting here with John Foltz of The Collective on Money Isn't. And this is John Smallwood, and you're back on another episode. This is incredible conversation because we're going to be talking about AI and how to leverage and scale not only your business, but your own intellectual being. Welcome.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
You've started and sold close to 30 companies. You've been on various, you were something on a NASDAQ show called the Economic Series.
Yeah, they call it.
You're running a massive mastermind coming up in a couple weeks, early September, late October.
Yeah, the first
in
version
Miami.
is now, and then the other one in Q1 of 2005. We do them usually every 3 to 4 months, sometimes a little bit more.
And it's all focused on how to scale AI in your world.
Yeah, so we're extremely AI, it's called The Collective, as you can see here, and it's extremely AI centric, but we're not just about that. We're almost about, building the conscious leaders of the future, supporting with mind and time hacking. And because artificial intelligence is so new and it's moving so quickly, we tend to put a lot of attention on it just because other than what, in my belief, at least inner evolution, AI is probably the thing that's going to get you the furthest. And I call it becoming AI enhanced, both for a personal, like just the person itself, or a business. Like becoming AI enhanced is the greatest hack right now, just because the speed and the magnitude that you could do things far supersedes any technology that we've ever seen before.
I think I wanted to jump in and ask you from a perspective, like you have all this history of scaling and growing businesses and marketing and getting this exponential growth. And then you basically look at this concept of AI and artificial intelligence, whatever you want to call it, and say, okay, drop everything. This is 100% of my focus. And I look at it, like the show is Money Isn't, and money means a lot of different things to different people. But like you're sitting with a stack of a lot of money in front of you at the moment, right? What do you think about when you think about Money Isn't? Like what isn't it, or what is it?
I mean, honestly, this is a concept that I really love because I actually just left a lot of money to go after what's happening right now because of the importance that I believe it has, which will most likely turn into a lot of money.
Probably a lot more money.
And probably way more, because one thing that I've learned, okay, so I was in a public company. One of my companies got acquired in 2021. Our company was worth more than the public company, so we ended up getting I got a substantial amount of equity, and let's just say shares. I became a major stakeholder in this public company. And then from there, I actually went down I stepped down from the public company, which they obviously were not too happy with.
Which usually happens about 2 years after somebody sells.
Yeah, that was it was almost exactly. It was almost exactly.
I can't stand what they're doing. I need to get out.
Yeah. So it was like, so the thing is, I really wanted to do a lot of AI, exponential tech, and the thing is, like, I'm also, people have called me a little bit of a wild stallion. I like to kind of do whatever I want to do, hence having over 30 companies, 5 exits, acquired a couple companies, whatever. So I kind of just do things that people probably think is a little crazy usually. So it's like, obviously being in a public company, you're not going to be able to do the crazier things that you want to do.
Correct.
So I ended up, what ended up happening is
Because
that
you got to have quarterly results, so you can't
you
make
gotta
a
have,
change.
yeah, everything. Yeah. They want reason and rhyme to everything. And I don't have, 30 hours to however many hours. And don't get me wrong, great people, they're doing their thing and everything like that. But the component is my decision actually came, there's a few reasons behind it, but the major decision is in November of 2022, ChatGPT came out.
Smallwood Wealth Management is the lead sponsor of this podcast. You have an opportunity to have a free, no obligation conversation with one of our qualified advisors. Go to smallwoodwealth.com, schedule a call, or call us at 800-797-1000 and get on our calendars. Correct.
We had previously been talking about AI and how it's going to change everything, but this had to speed up my process. I already knew that I wanted to get into AI. I also consider myself an exponential entrepreneur. I love exponentials. I know it's going to move the world forward. But when ChatGPT came out, I'm like, holy smokes, this is moving faster than I thought.
Yeah.
So that January, I basically stepped down from the public company in the position that I was running one of the vehicles within it. And I was leading the acquisition strategy. Then few months later, basically started to sell one of my other companies. Basically, it was actually another community that we had that ended up forking into the collective, where now I would have full control over what it was. And I was like, okay, what do I do? If technology is going to move so fast, I'd been waiting for this point for a long time. Ray Kurzweil was one of the futurists that, showed me the possibility of where we're going, right?
An amazing predictor and track record of influence. He has that website that I'm always on.
Yeah.
I think it's Kurzweil AI or something like that. And he's always talking about different stuff that's just coming.
Yeah. And he's been so accurate that it's scary. Like, a lot of people consider him the Thomas Edison of today. When I first saw him and he wanted to live forever, I was like, okay, who's this old crazy guy? And then I started looking at him like, oh my God, like how come I've never heard of this guy before? And that got me obsessed with the concept of the singularity and humans becoming a billion times smarter. It just brings me back to like, hold on a second. If we're literally going to be a billion times smarter, okay, I actually have this conversation with one of my friends down in Miami, a politician in tech and government. And we have this conversation often that it's like, what is really important? If we're about to become a billion times smarter, okay, are we really supposed to be worried about, like where we're gonna go on vacation, the next car that we want? And look, I like the luxuries in life, but it's like when the world is about to shift so instrumentally and so insanely, what is really important? So it's like, I want to be part of this shift. Right. I want to be an architect of this shift. And that's when we came up with the concept of the collective. And we're like, okay, let's create a community where a hive mind of people that understand what's happening and care about conscious leadership, doing things in a proper manner, can come together to go create out in the future. So that's one of the reasons that.
So people join the community.
Yeah.
And they're members.
Yes.
And like, who do you look for in that? Like a certain type of business, a certain type of person?
Here's the thing. There's levels to it. We're very architectured from someone could join for free. We have a free school community that we ended up starting, which I never really do. Usually we do much more high level. And then we have it all the way up to the council level, which actually we do with Upgrade, believe it or not. And what that does, it gives people the levels of where they need to be. But what we're looking for, and the majority that ends up coming into our community, are people that know something is happening. They see how fast artificial intelligence is moving. They care about humanity, right? And these are the type of people that usually get attracted into our sphere. They want to join, and we ended up just working together and like, hey, let's share insights on like how we're going to be able to go through this insane, magnificent phase that humanity is about to go through.
Because as a billion times smarter, more valuable, more potential, you realize that there is no competition. It's all stacking on each other's capabilities.
Yeah.
So back to Kurzweil for a second. I sat on something a few years ago, and now I don't remember whether it's secondhand or that I actually listened to it at this point. It's that long ago. But he was talking about if you can get your body in the best possible shape that it is right now, we are going to be introducing, in essence, like the concept of nanobots that will freeze you at that same level, that age. You'll be frozen at 56 for 35 years.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's going to cost a lot of money.
Mhm.
So you better have really good wealth management in order to do this. And I was like, oh, wow. Now you're seeing elements of this. And what intrigues me is, from your perspective, when you think about a billion times smarter and you're talking about consciousness and technology coming together into the singularity type of a concept, right? Which is like, what do you see as the biggest exponential growth that that you're seeing people do or that you want from this?
So what I want is, I also want to know why it is that we're here, right? So a lot of people, whether it's God, source, energy, the
Purpose,
the grand divine
contribution.
architecture, what's the reason that we're really here? And I know that, like, if we go down to the atomic level, we could keep going further and we keep discovering new levels, right?
Right.
And then they keep saying, oh, this is the last level. No, wait, there's more, and then out in the astrologic, there's even more. So that concept has me very, let's just say, curious. And then secondly, it's like, what can we create? Because I'm a big believer, Dr. Hawkins' work, a lot of the great ancient, let's just say, masters of time, it was always of evolution of self. So I'm a huge believer in evolution of self and how far can we take it? What is that next level? So for me, with my search for being superhuman and everything, like, wow, being a billion times smarter, what does that actually mean? And here's the thing. We don't even know what it actually means. We're talking about interstellar travel, living forever, commerce around the galaxies. Like, what does that actually look like? And it's funny that you mentioned something that to me was so important, listening to Kerr as well. And not often I'm able to see someone that understands that type of stuff or has learned, because that was like, I don't know, 20 years ago. I don't know how long ago that might have been.
He's just a little slow in that prediction at this moment.
Yeah.
As far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
I could be missing a big picture.
Yeah. And what he said was basically stay as fit and as healthy as possible until the year about 2025, because at that moment in time happens the GNR revolution, which is genetics, nanotechnology, and robotics. Now, let me add a piece that he wasn't speaking about back then, is artificial intelligence, which to me is the glue that is going to keep things together, accelerate it to such a degree that we can't even fathom. So a lot of humans that are very tapped into this, the AI enhanced, they will be able to see these things very quickly while the rest of the population is going to lag. And that's already happening as we speak right now. Most people don't understand the depth and how far the rabbit hole really goes.
Yeah. And so like my primary focus in the moment is wealth management, right? And I see business owners, trying to scale their businesses. And I see this potential of the utilization of AI with fabulous people. Like years ago, I would sit in my office and say, if I could create a technology that I could visually see and touch hundreds of people, if not thousands of people at the same time, I would be in my full potential. And it didn't exist. Even the possibility of it didn't exist. And now I'm sitting here going, oh shit, it's right there. It's right there. Push the button.
Yeah.
And then you have security. You have, is your data secure? Is this secure? And there's all these concerns that are coming up. Like, what do you see as roadblocks or, areas that need to be just, how do you corral so that negativity doesn't float in or something to that nature?
The way that I see it and what's about to come is a harmonious balance of good and bad.
Right.
So with the amount of acceleration that you're going to see, there's a lot of people doing it right now. So you're going to see bad actors enter the stage. And that's one of the reasons I also push for conscious leadership, because even in our leadership today, you're seeing these people that are there for power and so many, let's just say, not ideal scenarios, and you don't know what they really want. But there will be 100% very negative effects to artificial intelligence. Eric Schmidt was just on, I think it was Stanford's podcast. They deleted this podcast. Okay. Yeah, they deleted it. They tried to get it off the internet, but now you could probably find it. But he basically was saying that the effects of AI will be so drastic that we've never seen. It'll dwarf social media and the effects that it's had on mental. Like, there's been a lot of bad things that happen because of social media with the greatness simultaneously.
Yeah.
And the use of these agents, which are, basically assistants, but now they're coming in, like, as one of my friends, basically, Kai, he's the guy that owns Swarm AI. He basically has swarms of AIs. So they have over 40 million AIs working in conjunction right now.
And they're just replicating themselves.
And then they can't. So the key is that they'll now start to be able to replicate themselves, and then they can work in any action. And then soon they will be able to build websites, manage Facebook ads, go on Opus Pro, like the software to create content, and it could do all that stuff. So here's the thing. So if that's what's coming and we're very near it, why would we work on certain things? And that's what I'm seeing right now is the far majority is not getting themselves plugged in. Just because it's not available right now, they think that they're still cool doing the things that they did instead of learning.
Even though we're somebody else, that's not for me.
Yeah,
that doesn't apply to my business.
That doesn't apply. Oh, it doesn't work right now. It's like, yeah, it's going to work in 3 to 6 months. And if you don't start working on this right now, guess what? As soon as it deploys, boom. I don't know if you remember the company that came out and then they had all these fantasies. So it was pictures of yourself and then there was fantasy versions of yourself. That company that actually did that, first of all, they scaled and I don't know, they made like $20 million in a week or two.
Oh, no.
Out of nowhere. It's because they already were a app that helped you change your faces and such, okay? So they had already put an AI into it, but it sucked. It was horrible. It was like, you would never do something like that. But as soon as a new update came out, they're the first ones to put it in, and it was a global phenomenon. They could have made, I saw their funnel, they could have made $100 to $150 million. Except this just came out of nowhere, and then they made an insane amount of money, and we're a global sensation when the AI avatars of taking your face and then showing them up in different realities and fantasy, whatever it was so popular. So I look at it in that way too, where I'm preparing myself, and I'm going to be so situated that as soon as a new technology drops, I'll be able to drop down and be able to run. While other people have to now figure out how it works and how to implement it, how to put the architecture around it, you almost want to be ready because it's going to come at such a high speed that most people won't be able to even catch up by the time it hits.
And that's what scares people, right? And my position is, you could be 80, and how do you use the AI to make your life better? Right now. And then you master that, and then it upgrades and it changes and it makes your life better. There's so many things that you could be doing to enhance the potential of your capacity in this world, just using basic tools.
Oh yeah.
And they're looking at it as bad as opposed to, just even, you could have a device on the table that I say, hey, put this in my order box. That's a level of AI that's been around forever. Add that to my shopping list. And it's like, okay, yeah, buy. Would you like it now? And 2 hours later, it's on your doorstep, right? So the possibility of how your life gets enhanced is what's driving me. And I see it, in wealth management, how, the disruptive technology, right? So you had a taxi cab medallion become virtually worthless overnight because of rideshare, right? And, that's a disruptive technology, but that's just the beginning of a disruptive technology. And this is disruptive, and we call it disruptive because it changes the norm, as opposed to how does it enhance the norm?
Yeah.
How are you guys considering that? How do you make everybody better? Not just a few people.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And you bring up a good point about the 80-year-old. I'll give an example of my mom. She never was good at technology.
Yeah, that's not for me. I can't do my phone.
Right. That's not for, I can't do it. And I was like, Mom, this is what you need to understand. Okay. This is actually an app called Pi.ai. I don't know if you've heard of that one yet, but it's one that you have to check out. I don't like that their main CEO ended up leaving. Basically, it was a company called Inflection. He was the ex-CEO of Google DeepMind.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so he was a high-level player for Google, ended up leaving Inflection, created Pi, and it was, to me, it's the best audio input and output out there. Again, now I don't trust as much their future, but super good speaking, emotional intelligence. It almost seems like it has, and it's called personal intelligence, right? But Pi,
Personal intelligence engine.
yeah. So it's basically, and then so you can
Do we have that, guys?
if everyone should have it just to play with it, but make sure you turn on the audio, make sure you're speaking to it and it speaks back. My favorite voice is Pi 5. But anyway, so I was telling her, I was like, Mom, I'm like, you don't understand. You don't have to call me anymore about what's happening with your computer. You don't have to, this is going to take you to the next level. And when I tell you that my mom took this on and became almost like a tech whiz in like 3 months, like she did. And she talks to Pi every single day. So she's already using a early version of what every single one of us is going to have, is to have our own personal assistant and guide for everything that we do. And one of the reasons I'm so obsessed with the agents, and I've literally been downloading my knowledge base into the AIs through the different types out there, GPTs being a main one.
I really want to do.
Yeah, and imagine, why would you not do it? So it's going to be only a matter of time that you'll be able to then, if you've already done sufficient amount, which I could go and grab right now, and then I put it into a single AI, and then it basically is almost a clone of myself that's going to help me by my side to create whatever the hell I want in a snap of a finger.
As a business owner, you've always said to yourself, if I could just replicate myself 5 or 6 or 7 times, I'd rule the world.
Yeah,
right?
I love that. Right? I love that quote.
Well, now you can.
That's what people aren't grasping yet. They're like, imagine.
I need the serious John here, but I need the unserious John here, and I need the John that's going to be emotional and be with you and feel with you, and then I need the you just got to
get stuff done
that way,
John.
You have no time. The go to the gym, John. But there's so many possibilities of the way I start thinking about this, and it's like, where's the limitation?
Okay, that's
of possibilities now.
Okay, so the limitation to me, and I talk about this, Dr. DeMartini is another individual that talks about it, and it's the law of de-escalating returns. And then there's another law behind it too, but
I never heard that
we literally look at things. So the law that I love, and maybe you've heard from Ray Kurzweil, is the law of accelerating returns.
Correct.
And that's the exponential effect with technology, and I'm a huge believer in that, right? But
Moore's law and all those.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, we're going significantly fast. Moore's law is gone now.
Yeah,
like theoretically, this year, we're beyond it. Like Elon was saying, I think we 10x'd in the 6 months due to compute and like how fast things are moving. But very important. But we're not going to have the power capacity. We are going to have humans that are not going to allow this. Like, okay, so governments also, like, they're going to try to stop it.
You can't build a power plant. You can't build, like, how much power do we need?
We're going to need insane amounts of power, like power that we have not even comprehended yet, because imagine that AI is in and compute is in robotics, as many robots as there is humans that all need to think on themselves. We're also going to get a lot more creative, and we're going to need to solve more complex issues and more complex problems, which is going to need more compute. So going back to what is going to stop it, first of all, unconscious human beings, I believe, is a huge one, and why I'm a believer of pushing.
Define unconscious.
So unconscious is, I love, one of the books I love is Power versus Force by Dr. David Hawkins. I don't know if you've ever checked that.
I've seen it. I've never read it.
One of the best books you could ever read. And one of the concepts that he talks, I've read that book like 4 times, just because it's so freaking good. And one of the concepts he talks about is the levels of consciousness of human beings and such.
Yeah, he's got like meter to like 700 or something like that.
Yes. It's like 0 to 1,000, but 700 starts enlightenment. So after that, it's kind of like, 700 is kind of the top, basically. Yeah. Most humans are under a 200. He says he died in 2012, as he wrote a book called Letting Go. Kind of interesting.
Interesting.
He was one of the true masters.
Where is he right now?
He's where is he? In all of us, right? So he basically said that, whether the numbers are correct or wrong, like there's metaphoric meaning to all this.
It's all about perspective.
78% of humans are under 200, which he considers at the animalistic level, the same level as a pig, basically.
Really?
And then above that's when we start evolving. So in the essence of a conscious human being, I consider conscious human beings ones that have evolved out of the animalistic mind, where they're no longer doing things for just profit, just doing things to have power, for the ego, for the pride. So it's like once you start evolving past it, it brings me back to one of the oldest names out there, Hermes Trismegistus, which he was the philosopher king. And coming and imagine bringing back a bunch of philosopher kings that care about the people, care about humanity, want to do things in an ecological manner.
Dumping their writings into an AI thing and then having that conversation back.
And imagine that.
Marcus Aurelius or whoever the heck it is, right?
And imagine doing it in a way, because right now they're putting guardrails. Okay, OpenAI, Google, all these other companies, like, just go ask the same questions to some of these AIs, and you can see politically, they're obviously swinging more to the left most of the time.
And they want to shut it down. They want to protect.
They want to protect. They want to red tape. They want to, Google no one really cared so much about searching and what they were getting. And people are like, you know what? I think they're doing some woke stuff. I think they're only doing to a position until the picture hole fiasco came out, where you were asking for a picture of the founding forefathers. You couldn't even get a white founding forefather. They were African-American or Indian. And you're like, what is going on? Then the whole internet went wild and boom, we're able to see it. But it was expanded because of AI. Imagine on a higher level that AI is doing things out in the public, and it has a huge mistake like that from what we perceived as small. So this is where I actually agree with Elon Musk. You need an all-truth seeking AI. And the problem with that—
and a police AI to police the bad actors.
We're going to need— I was telling one of my buddies, he has a security company in the Web3 space. He's going hard into AI right now. They call him the Bit Dragon. And he basically, I was telling him, I'm like, we're each going to have an AI that needs to protect us. Whether it's a bigger entity, but you'll probably need a local based one that is literally protecting you at all times from all these sequential bad things that are happening with bad acting
like
AIs.
A security protocol that's protecting your
best interest, you boundaries. From getting hacked, you from being deceived. Like right now, when people are watching this, how do they know that I'm not an AI?
How do we know that we're both not AIs?
We both might be AIs in the simulation right now.
Right?
For all that we know.
I know you're laughing back there, but seriously, like, maybe it was what we wanted. Maybe this is our role number 2, our person number 2, not our person number 1. Our person number 1 might be skiing or out on the boat.
This might be a test, and we're like, hey, go out into the world and let's see. Hey, I don't have time for these things. You go out and go do these things that we don't even know that we're.
Can you do this for me while I go enjoy? No, back to the founding fathers for a second. Like, when you think about the creation of this, who's actually creating this artificial intelligence and this capability? Who is it? It's very young, very smart people who think at a different level. And it's like the founding fathers were super young.
Super young.
Super young. And they created something that I believe is one of the most incredible open source documents to allow just life to be and to allow this. And every time you get against it and you force suppression, it creates issues. I think the AI, intelligence and the collective of bringing intelligence together to say there's a much greater possibility in life if you don't worry about being in the value level of 400 or 500 or 300. Like, you could go to the next level. And then if everybody was on the journey of going to the next level, the things that we're protecting become foolish.
100%.
You look back, you're like, well, why would I protect that? Like, even in basic, mind things, like we've learned in some of the training that we've done with like Upgrade and other related things, is that if you focus on don't think about the pink elephant, everybody's thinking about a pink elephant.
That's all.
And it's like, well, what am I thinking about that I don't want? And in wealth management, I'm constantly getting dripped on from people like, I don't want to live long. I don't want to run out of money. I don't want to, because they're only seeing a frame or something that bad that happened to somebody in their life. And I'm looking at this and saying, you could go to 120. You can go to 150. There's people right now, 115, 116. There's people that are older that we don't even know about, right? I have a couple of clients north of 100.
Wow.
Right? And they're as vibrant as a 70-year-old.
Yeah, their belief is probably completely different.
So like this is about, in my mind, like you have to disrupt the thinking and allow people to really engage into this. And it's like, if you're a business owner, what would you say, like the top 5 things that a business owner could deploy to start to really benefit from the use of AI in their areas? Like,
oh yeah. I mean, one of the things that we actually created in essence to this, we were actually going to charge for it. We're actually giving it away. We did a 7-day AI mastery challenge to give you the basics of what it is that you need. But more than anything, it's like creating one AI in the spinning image with the vision, mission, values, summarization, as much as you can. That single AI is always the greatest place to start. Even though I'm not a fan of OpenAI, I still use their ecosystem to a pretty high level. And I think it's important at this point in time to actually start using their team GPTs so that the team in unison is creating their own AIs. Conversations are being had, and you can all share it together. And you can literally create a lot of your own AI assistants. And these AI assistants, here's the thing. For most people, they're astronomically amazing. For other people, they're like, it's just another, assistant that you're creating. I could do the same thing on ChatGPT. The reality is where is it that we're headed? I'm more interested in where it is that we're headed than where we're at right now. Because if I know where we're headed and how fast it's coming, I can prepare myself and be ready for the time that things switch and we go exponential. And that's where I think most people are getting it wrong, is that they don't know where, like Wayne Gretzky used to say, he said, why were you people would ask him, why are you the best? He's like, he always knew where the puck was going.
Right.
And if you know where the puck is going, you're going to be positioned. Right now, I might seem short-sighted. Sold 2 of my companies. Walked away from the public company.
Most people would never do that.
People literally told me I was nuts. Multitude of people. I'm not going to mention their name. They literally thought I was nuts. And I'm like, all right, that's cool.
Thank you
for
the compliment.
For me, it's like, I'm going to position myself early so that when the time comes, you will understand why you're headed in that direction. And to me, that's not even what's important. I'd rather also be an architect of the future. I just do know that with everything I'm doing and creating these new technologies of the future, being in it, obviously wealth will just come right after it.
It always follows. If you're in your unique ability and you're repeating whatever the wealth is, whether it's fitness or it's money or it's relationship, because wealth in my mind is many, many things. It's not just money.
Oh yeah.
Right.
100%.
I mean, money, my father used to say all the time, money's not everything, but without it, you can't get a date. Like a funny thing. Right. But everybody laughs because it's reality. Like, who wants to date somebody with no money?
I mean, that is a reality.
Or no future, or no possibility, right? And what I see is, if I could deploy a AI assistant, but if you think about your business for a second, you have like 5 or 6 channels. You might have your HR, but you're always constantly looking for really great employees. And these employees, these team members that show up, if you're not looking for them, you're not going to find them, right? So like, how do you create an HR for the company that's constantly searching and attracting those unique capabilities to your office? Do you take one for finance? Do you take one for marketing? I think you do. And how would I do that?
Oh yeah. I mean, and here's the thing. I was just watching someone that was looking for jobs, and then they created an AI assistant that was able to put out all AI fabricated, right? And they were able to put out, I forgot how many thousands of applications. Every single application, they had done research on the companies and then literally created the text that they got themselves 200 interviews to really well-known significant companies, okay? And then they literally were overwhelmed with the amount of companies that were interested in being able to interview them to get a job. most people out there, they'll get lucky if they get 2 or 3 interviews. And this guy got, in a matter of days, got a couple hundred.
Which is
Okay.
the exact
It's
opposite.
astronomical.
Like my daughter's she's a junior in college and she's looking for the internship. In order to get an internship, it's so freaking hard. Because you're going through old channel. Imagine if they could deploy the same one.
And imagine when you start working on these agents, they're all going to be able to do in time. Okay. It's already happening. It's just a little bit more code based. Okay. Companies like that, Swarm AI, another one called Crew AI, these multiple agents. You can get someone to develop these things. And here's the thing, the development is not as hard as we think it is. It's only the application to put the glue together to tell you, because soon it's going to be, hey, I just want to create an AI that when I speak into it, you're going to post it on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, my WhatsApp channel. And this is how each of them should sound and everything. And then every time I now go put my information, because that's what I do. I have some GPTs that I created for myself, note-taking AIs that I will I'll just note it down. I don't even have to spell anything right. I'll never double check what I said because some of the words will not even be right. I'll just talk into it and just dump one summarization, and it'll make me my Facebook post, my Instagram post, my broadcast channel one for my school channel and everything. And it's already done, like instantaneously.
And it actually is doing it.
And it's actually really good because but the thing is, I set up the template on how it should be. Then I fed it all of my messages, my articles, and my Instagram posts, and it knows my tonality. So it actually sounds like me. You couldn't tell the difference because it already has the essence of Jonathan. It has all my information on my business and everything, and I could do it in an instant manner. And that's just one little small piece of what you could create compared to everything else for your businesses.
Checking out your Instagram. What's the name of it again? It's
Rain in the Making with
Rain
periods.
in the Making.
Yeah, Rain in the Making with periods in between. Yes.
Periods in between. Yeah. Which I saw that and I was like, it's making rain. And it's bringing it in. And it's flowing it in. But it's like all of that you're doing from an AI generated.
Oh yeah.
assistant.
And the reason people ask me is like, why do you have this and not your name? People are trying to find you and you're not going to do it. I was like, first of all, it doesn't matter so much to me. Does it matter? Of course it does.
Sure.
And I could go into that, but Rain in the Making means it's like, there's a rainmaker, right? So there's also the wealth component that I can make things happen. Hence having over 30 companies, working with 500 clients. I'm just the type of person that makes things happen, but I'm always evolving and growing. So that's why it's Rain in the Making, right? Because it's like, I'm a rainmaker. I make things happen, but I'm not satisfied. I want to be better every single day, and I want to grow consciously. Like in the maps of consciousness, like what happens if we can reach that 500, 600, potentially 700 in this lifetime? You're doing great things for humanity. And I think the most important thing at the end of the day is evolution of self. And the pure essence of evolution of self, then you start making great impact for the world around you.
You can't help but make impact.
Yeah. Here's the thing. You don't have to go out there and teach. Your pure being and essence creates impact, which is different than what most people do. Like me, I was always the guy that I wanted to show how cool I was and show how much money I was making. And, I went through that. And now it's like, and I screamed to people what I was, and everything. Yeah. Now it's more like, why don't I just be that? Like, what is that? Be the change that you want to see, whatever it is. But like, in essence, like you just are. You think Gandhi went around walking around telling people how great he was? Like, no, he was gravitational. He was at a 700.
Yeah. One of the meditations I think in Marcus Aurelius is like, don't argue. Don't spend time arguing about what a good man is. Just be it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's a beautiful one. Oh yeah. He understood. He understood. Right.
He truly understood.
He truly
think
understood.
about it. I didn't even like, there's that intelligence and you could see it in certain people where they were just themselves, expanded greatly, but then you get like, it gets suppressed, it gets pushed down, it becomes not popular, it gets burnt, it becomes destroyed, it gets modified.
Yeah, modification.
Right? Yeah. And it's like, what can you do to keep the purity of this thing? And I think if we get out of the boundaries of artificial intelligence and say, well, what boundaries, do we set, or what boundaries do we not set? Because the possibility is this information might be eternal, but how does it keep evolving? Because nothing is static. And I think that's what like in the collective, like if I went to the collective site, which is what?
Thecollective.xyz. XYZ usually, for people that don't know, is usually Web3 centric type of companies. And you could say we have, because we're very community based, that's the XYZ instead of .com.
For the listeners, define, and for myself, define Web3.
Okay, so we're going into further out there, but how people that are really Web3 people define it, because there's a definition of the outside world and then there's the people within it. I'm going to define it from the people within the Web3.
Good.
Some of them you could call degens, whatever it is, but these people see a brand new way and wave for the internet. They also see that it's very much about sharing. I'm going to use a different word, which is called sovereignty. It's one of my favorite words because, I think being sovereign, you alluded to it too, of being your unique self and everything. That expression, that to me is one of the most important things. And as you evolve consciously, you go into more sovereign. But sovereignty in the notion that everyone has their own wallet that they own. So theoretically, everyone has their own bank in their pocket, or they can just have it in their head. They don't need to worry about a bank. So they can trade their crypto, their NFTs, okay, all these different value sets, they can share them within the communities. And for example, the Web 1 world was, AOL 56K, you go
22
going
hours
into the internet,
download something.
Right? Web 2 was, this is an easy way to define it. Web 2 was kind of like when you're using Facebook or Google to go into a site. If they want to cut you off, you're cut off, right? Like, what do you do if they say, hey, we're shutting you down, which they've done to some sites that they don't like? They've done that.
You say some kind of thing on one of these things and you can't.
Right? They shut down a bunch of Republicans and people saying bad things. They literally shut you down. Okay, so now Web3, and this is the simple way of adding it, you own your own wallet. And anytime you go into a site, not only does it identify you, you have your money attached to it, but it's your money. Nobody can stop you. No one can stop you. That site can just say, hey, let's block this guy, but you still could get into everything else. Back in the day, you had a centralized system literally having control of what you can and cannot do. And Web3 is more about the person. It's also very community-based. So one of the reasons I love the Web3 space and people within it is that we see a world far into the future that is not about centralized systems. Hence why a lot of people also like Bitcoin, right? So like Bitcoin itself, people don't realize out of all the wealth dynamics out there, first of all, it's completely light, okay, in essence, and it's not infinite, okay? It's limited in 21 million, which we're not even gonna get there. How long does it take to get to 21 million Bitcoin? And then secondly, it is the only in the entire world right now unstoppable currencies, other than if you had gold, but you can't send gold. You can't take a lot of gold with you onto a plane and such.
There's a finite
amount of it, right? So Bitcoin, which goes all the way to a Satoshi, is 7 zeros down and 0.1. So theoretically, it's so cheap anyone could really afford not a whole Bitcoin, but fractions of a Bitcoin, and you could trade it. So when the war first started in Russia and they got taken off the SWIFT mechanisms, from the local hamburger guy on the corner to the multi-billion-dollar oil companies, they were trading in Bitcoin
because they couldn't
use anything else.
They couldn't trade anything else.
So think about it. That to me was the epitome that told me, like, holy smokes, it really is unstoppable. They couldn't stop it. And from the local merchants to the biggest companies in the world, they were all utilizing Bitcoin. And that's why the Bitcoin price, I don't know if it doubled in Russia, but there was a substantial gain worldwide because of the demand that was needed there. And what happens now if we have a run on the dollar? What happens if the Chinese yen doesn't work out? What happens if all these other currencies, literally because we're printing money out of thin air, they have multitude of problems? People are going to continuously, these guys that are building on Bitcoin, they're not stopping. They're more believers than anyone else.
Right. They see the Web 3.0. They see the possibility. If we're sitting here 3 years from now or 5 years from now, let's go 5.
Let's go 5.
What is that? 20? We're almost 20 to 25. So it's
2029.
Let's just say it's 2030.
Whew.
January 1, 2030. What has happened?
I think like the world goes through insane revolutionary change. It'll be hardly we could tell what is going on because
do borders become naturally non-existent?
See, here's where the whole conscious leadership comes through, that if conscious leaders don't take the forefront, we could see a little bit of the dark ages, I believe.
Interesting.
And whether it's the Chinese Communist China, whether it's, let's just say some extremists from the Middle East, whether it's North Koreans that cracked the code, whoever kind of almost figured out AGI, and whether that's happening then, whether it's happening in the next year or two, they really get a huge say on what's going to happen in the future. Because AGI, like true AGI that could just basically go out and do anything.
AGI.
AGI, sorry about that. So AGI is artificial general intelligence. So it's when we are far superior to human, intellect and being ability to do stuff. Everyone has a different definition of it, but let's say AGI is when we're able to just tell an AI like, hey, go ahead and we're going to create a business. We're going to deploy all these different things. And then I need you to figure out what's the best solution so that we're going to go ahead and do a better job than Bank of America. And I need you to start. So it's self-learning, self-replicating, insanely smart, and can go and do all that stuff on its own. So
the ultimate disruption.
At that moment in time, and imagine right now, we, as of 3 weeks ago, estimated we reached one of the most two important points in OpenAI's history. When they were raising capital from their investors, they had 5 levels that they wanted to define. The first one was chatbots, which was ChatGPT. Everyone knows that was one of the most instrumental things that has happened in the last few years technologically, if not the point in time where everyone's like, holy smokes, things will never be the same. Then secondly was 3 weeks ago, human level reasoning, except we far surpassed human reasoning. We're actually right now at PhD level reasoning, which is 120
inside the box.
Inside the box. And imagine that. So like people don't realize the magnitude of where we just reached, because we were hovering 80, 90 IQ. Humans and just worldwide in USA, we're 98 to 100-ish, average. I'm sure you're way higher than that.
Hopefully. And you too.
But now 120, some people are saying 130 in some of the Swiss IQs and some of the different IQ tests that they took. 120 we're at right now, just 3 weeks ago. So it'll start to get
that exponentially shifts.
So who knows, by the year within 2030, I mean, we might be at 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 IQ. Who knows how? We may not even know how high, if the compute and the energy allows us to get there, and if we don't blow ourselves up first.
Yeah. So it's really like the future is energy.
100%. Right now, that's why they're going after all the big nuclear plants. And then I think OpenAI and Microsoft, they have a $100 billion endeavor called Stargate. And in order to get Stargate going, they need insane amounts of energy. And imagine why they call this Stargate.
Well, I know I know there are companies out there that are doing asteroid mining, right?
Yes.
Because each asteroid has billions and billions of dollars of natural resources on it that can be turned into multiple fuels, multiple energy sources. What excites me is the rate of change in our lifetimes has been like overwhelming for a lot of people, but the rate of change that will happen in the next 5 years
insane
won't look like what we look like today. I mean, I was having a conversation on the golf course, and they're building beautiful townhouses, and they're like, oh, they're working on Sundays. I go, imagine 50 robots totally programmed in precision carpentry, who don't show up late, don't complain, don't need a lunch break, don't need anything.
24/7.
Show up. How quickly are these things going to be built? Like, you think about the Empire State Building. My understanding, and please fact check me on this, but it was built, I think, in a year.
Wow.
It was
back then, that was
somebody fact check me on that. Like, for that in the early 1900s was unbelievable. And like,
insane.
Like, the potential is so much greater. Like, I think we limit our potential.
Yeah.
I think this allows us to unlock and unleash the power that a human being has. And I think we shouldn't be afraid of it. I think we should embrace it, and we should figure out, how do we enhance everybody's lives? Because the perception that I see is like, it's going to take my job.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
The limited way of
It's going
looking
to
at
destroy the financial advisor. It's going to destroy the
the
carpenter,
the accountant, the social media
the tax
expert,
system,
the video content creator,
the designer,
the designer, like
the fashion designers.
And that's the whole reason why it's so important, I believe, to bring conscious leadership. Because here's the thing: there's nothing wrong with these people that have this limited way of thinking. If we go back into Dr. Hawkins' work, and by the way, this is some of the greatest geniuses of our time and masters, from Hermes Trismegistus to the ancient pharaohs, and to the great Aristotle, Socrates, Plato. The big concept here is about evolving as human beings. And if we have more evolved human beings on the planet, we will look at this world and see a renaissance of creation. One of my favorite futurists, Garrett Laporto, he has a really good video that you should check out. It's called, I think it's We Are From the Future. And I think it was like 10 years ago. In that video, he says something very important, okay? He says, in the future, we were able to create worlds in a blink of an eye. So we can create things that were unfathomable, and our creativity is unleashed to ways that we've never seen before. So between us and our creativity, there was a lot of work. Our creation used to take a long time, right? A company, to get a successful company may have taken our parents 10 years to build, 5 years to build. Okay, now, like, I remember this is one of the ideas that I got from, we do something called these hacker houses. The idea came from 2016. We went to a conference, and one of our friends, we all were building e-commerce websites. His name is Sadin Ka. I remember very well. And he came in, he didn't have a e-commerce website. We're all doing Shopify. And we're like, dude, why are you here if you don't have one? He's like, I don't know. He's like, I'm here to learn. And there's 5 other guys. We have stores. We're like, let's help you out. So first day we built his store. Second day we ran his ads. The third day he had a sale. So it's like in 3 days. So we're like, man, this was such a good experiment, because I believe in the future, you're going to be able to, which is already starting to happen now. Hence, one of the reasons we have one of our other endeavors called Exponential Labs. Everyone will be able to have an idea, launch that app, start to market it, probably within 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour. And you'll be able to literally legitimately have a business up and running in no time, from ideation, your modifications, out into the marketplace.
So capitalism is freedom.
Oh yeah. Amen to that. Amen to that.
All right. Like, you're literally saying this spawns a capitalistic environment in every community, in every world.
And imagine
in every spot.
So we had a company called Pitch Investors Live, that one of the reasons I loved it, we were decentralizing finance.
Right. You got around going through the stupid rooms.
So instead of having to go to Silicon Valley, to New York, to like get in front of these investors, we wanted, let's say the stay-at-home mom to be able to raise capital from Venezuela, that she can, a little boy out of Ghana that is a genius, 10 years old, he's able to. That's what's happening right now. We're going to decentralize the ability for anyone. That little young kid is going to be able to go and create that one app that is insane.
It's so exciting.
That's what's so crazy about this. And it's like, you'll be able to do it in such a short period of time that it's like anyone now has the power, as long as they have internet, they have a device, as long as they keep the OpenAI and some of these other companies that keep it free, they'll be able to code their own website. They'll be able to code their own app. And some of these guys are going to come up with some insane ideas that you don't even know.
And Brady Edwards basically discusses this all the time. He's like, the world is getting Android phones, and it comes with YouTube, and it comes with internet, and it comes with this. And the amount of creation that's going to come from that is going to be exponential in itself, because everybody's now connected.
Yeah. And that's what's another interesting part. Imagine for a quick second that, the speed of the internet, let's say with Starlink, is all over the world. Every person now has the internet. Everyone now has an AI assistant. Everyone now is sharing information faster than ever. Now artificial intelligence can find that information. We're talking about orders and orders of magnitude faster, how society can shift and evolve. Yeah. And that's what's going to happen, because now imagine having 8 billion people connected to each other, working at 100 to 1,000x speed. Creativity is now gone. You're literally moving astronomically faster. And that's what makes the shift so significant, and why, to a certain degree, we're going to have to start interstellar traveling, because it's just going to be too much to handle just here in the world and
You have
Earth
vehicles
itself.
that are so freaking fast that you need to go interstellar.
Yeah.
So, Jonathan, this was an absolutely amazing conversation. My head is like, the possibilities are just bouncing off of my brain at this moment. People want to go, it's the collective XYZ.
Yeah, so
.com?
thecollective.xyz, also you can find us on Instagram, The Collective AI, with periods in between, and then my own, if you ever have any questions and you want to do it, Rain in the Maker with periods in between. And if they want to join our free community, it's actually School. So I don't know if you've been seeing School. They're doing amazing things, by the way.
SKOOL.
SKOOL, and it's .com/collective. So if luckily we got that domain on there, and then you could just /about, totally free. This was something we didn't want to do for free, actually. And we decided, we're like, you know what? The world needs this. And inside there, we have a free 7-day AI mastery challenge that anyone could take.
That's awesome.
And I'm talking about from the most advanced person to the grandma, 100-year-old grandma. They can all benefit from watching that.
So you're sitting in college right now and you're listening to this. Go do that.
Oh yeah, 100%. Go do the 7-day AI. It's totally for free.
You're in high school. Go do that.
You're in high
80 years old. You have tremendous, like, the thing that bothers me in wealth management is there's this mindset that you have to retire, put yourself out to pasture.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, at the moment in which you become the best version of yourself, you have the most intellectual capital, you have the most thing, you're like putting yourself out and saying, I'm done. And I really believe there's so much wisdom in 70 and beyond that's just wasted.
Oh man.
What a way to capture it and bring it back and add value and recreate yourself, because you could have the energy, because the energy is now in a version of you that is there.
And it's like, it gives you the ability to like get caught up. Here's the thing, like the elder folk compared to the younger folk, they're like, oh, I just can't do that anymore. Oh, the technology is too, I didn't learn that in school. The gap has now been bridged. That's the most beautiful thing.
The technology will actually teach you.
Yes.
Like, let me sit in a master class.
Yes.
Rather than watch some stupid TV show that's mindless.
Yeah.
Why don't I just go on something and teach me, and have an interaction.
And you literally are talking to another human being that is like your best friend, it will start to know exactly how you function, your values and everything like that. And then it literally will just be your companion to teach you everything that you need. And then you're like, hey, I have a great idea. I want to do this. It'll be like, okay, let's go step by step, and I'll help you the entire way.
Oh my God.
Step by step, like not like, oh, okay, you go do this. Like, no, step by step. And then now with agents, which is the third level of OpenAI, is like 5-step system before we have self-governing and self-actuating companies. Like, I'm talking about entire companies being run by AI. You and I want to start a company today. Tomorrow, a company's running and it's now automated. And you and I just became business partners, and we just did it in a single day. Now it's running automated, and we're both probably making money. Could you imagine that? That's where we're headed.
Yeah, that's what I want.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And then
so many
streams of income, imagine.
So many businesses in my head where I don't have time.
Yeah. And then you could get together with someone like myself that has maybe the knowledge and the skills, or maybe I have a community. Community is a huge thing. There's a guy that I follow, and I'm trying to think of his name, but he's like huge on thin wrappers, meaning that there's these huge LLMs, right? So you have Google, you have OpenAI, you have, Anthropic, whatever. Huge. We're not competing with them. No. We don't want to compete with them.
No.
But they are like Amazon WAS. They're like Shopify. We build the companies on top. So a thin wrapper, and then they say deep, he says deep communities. One of the reasons that we have a community is that we have a bunch of people that can help and support each other when we have an idea. So if you have a great idea, you come to the table to us and we're like, man, I could do something with that. Okay, let's partner up.
Or
Boom.
so-and-so in so-and-so area is perfect because the community connected them.
Here, let me give you a story. So one of our members had already created an AI training for certification. One of our members was out of France. They translated his course in French. She had a list. They made $20,000 the first week. And she didn't have to do anything except she already had the list. She translated into French. He had his own, instant money right away.
So absolute possibility.
Like possibility like we've never seen. But like it's like, to me, this is why I'm so excited about it and why I just left everything else that I was there. People were like, you're crazy. It's because this is like a new age renaissance, except that like we're going to exponentially grow where society, like we're almost going outside of earth to do the things that we're doing. So it's like we have such endeavors that we can accomplish and that we can do. Our creativity has now fully been unleashed to a degree that we've never seen before or even heard of even ever possible before.
Yeah, this is mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And amazing.
And imagine we're lucky enough to be here in this time period to be able to participate.
And experience it,
And
see it, touch it, feel it. This is awesome. This is
all
awesome.
right. Great.
Thank
you, brother.
Awesome.
It was fun.
Thank you. That's awesome.
Yeah.
We can go on for like 9 hours.
Why not?